so much for your time, sir.
No
Thank you so
problem.
much. I understand your how busy you could be and how valuable your time is. I appreciate these few minutes you'll be spending with me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, sir. All right, so
Problem.
whenever I do this, I always love to do a brief introduction of myself about what I do. I hope you don't mind. Just in a few minutes,
Okay.
I will do that. So my name is Timot Mowali, and
Sure.
I'm a podcaster. This is what I do. And what I had as a vision when I wanted to start this podcast is to create a platform for youth where we could archive stories of young Nigerians that are making amazing progress, and we could make that story available to every Nigerian where they can get mentored by those stories. Personally, because of my experience when I started discovering what I wanted to do with my life, it was hard for me to discover find a mentor that would actually help me. And what I laid back onto was stories, was interviews, books, and those are the things that literally mentored me to become the little I've been able to achieve. So I believe I want to give that platform to people to listen to stories of young Nigerians that have gone far behind ahead of us rather to achieve great things. And that was why I literally reached out to you to get your story archived on my platform, sir. So good evening once again,
Okay.
sir. So whenever I meet people like you, the first thing that crossed
For having
my
me.
yeah, whenever I meet people like you, the first thing that crossed my mind is why. I was reading to your story and I was amazed that why would a young Nigerian want to help build other people's life when probably you have not gotten the all of the money probably you dreamt of, probably you have not bought the car of your dream, you have not built the house of your dream, and you still thought of going out there to help others become something in life. My question is, why did you actually think it was necessary for you to take that step at that moment?
Um, so to answer this question, you first need to know, you know, what my story is, because my story, deeply reflects, the things that I later went on to do, in life. And I mean, typically it's not normal for a young person that is still trying to hustle and
Also,
make
exactly.
leave his own struggles and take on the struggles of other people.
Mhm.
You know, most people do this when they are successful and they can leverage, the success and the wealth that they've built and the network they've built and use it to now create something to benefit humanity or something.
Exactly.
That is standard process. So it's very typical when somebody that it does not even has not even never chop well, how do they call it? Say it now takes other people's struggle and adds it to his own, right? There's always a backstory, and there's a story that you know that kind of compels you to do something different, and that tells my own personal story. I also grew up in a slum community, and you know, I had one shot at life, and it was through chess. Just that one shot, and it gave me everything. It gave me an identity. Imagine if no one ever paid to me, right? Because we grew up in poverty, I would have probably just ended up as another child that was deprived and just got their dreams stolen away because of poverty. We suffer a lot more than we do, right? And when you begin to see potential that these children have, that isn't being spoken about. People talk about poverty, they talk about these things, but they forget that there's another dimension to it that is equally important, which is the story of becoming. So the understanding of these things, just you know, I just made up my mind that you know what, I was going to try. I was going to see where this leads. And I remember I just took a couple of chess balls. I went to the Majidon Guluto Slum community. And when I got there, we gathered a few children that don't even speak English, who had never been to school before, and we set up a chessboard. And we were completely astounded by, what these children had the capacity to do. Right. And it just made me believe because, and that's the thing about potential. When you see it, it leaves such a lasting impression on you that it's impossible to sleep. You know that this child can become so great, but then they don't just have opportunities. And you know that he would do anything to just give them the opportunity so they get a chance to know what they can truly become. And that just set my entire soul on fire. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. I was literally obsessed with the idea that I had seen the potential these children wield and I needed to tell the world about it. And chess was just a tool, at the time, that reflected my own personal story. And I could just teach them the opportunities they deserve. So that was why I picked it.
I was still trying to picture the whole story on my head actually. So while you were still into this chess in the slum as a vision, as a dream, as a baby you were building, were you have ever did you at any point did you have to actually sit down and think about your life that okay, me pouring all myself to this that is not a business that is for sure going to bring in money one day. Were you ever at a point shaky or thinking of every another means to to fund your livelihood or to give you a sense of okay wealth, not just wealth, but a sense of I'm a man in the society beyond the chess.
Yes, of course. I mean, I experienced that a lot of times, right? Because there was a point where I actually even quit my regular job to focus full time on the Chess and Slums project. I mean,
Wow.
now things are a lot easier now, but there was a time where I actually quit my job because it was taking all my time, and I really wanted to focus on building this project. And I think the first thing that you need to understand is if you want to do this kind of work that doesn't necessarily come with, financial reward, right? You must become deeply intimate with sacrifice, right? You're doing a charity, a non-profit. They must coexist, right? Charity and making personal sacrifices, is something that you'd learn to marry. If you as a young person want to do charity. And there was a lot of pressure, especially from family, because
I was
my
about to
parents
ask
made a lot
that.
of sacrifices, just so I could go to school. And imagine after all of that, and I
Mhm,
say you want to do charity, not business. Like you just want to be helping children and they're not paying you for it. And a lot of it didn't make sense to a lot of people, right? And even to me, sometimes I just kept doubting because it's scary when you're like, how would chess put food on the table?
mhm.
Like you're actually giving all your time, your effort, your energy to something. Why you could have been probably building a skill or maybe even learning about cryptocurrency or doing something else or building an important skill, in your life that will guarantee that linear path to income or to wealth. Right? You saw all your other friends, you see everyone else excelling at their careers, traveling, and you're just there believing in this idea. You just have this idea that you're trying to make work. It could be scary because you know that if it goes wrong or if it doesn't work out the way you expect, then you live a life of regret. Right. So I had a very strong conviction. I'm a person of conviction, right? I told myself that even if it doesn't work out, right? Because the idea of success for a project like that is blurred. Is it that who becomes popular from being a chess teacher, who becomes wealthy from being a chess teacher to children in poor communities? Nobody cares, right? So you don't even know what your idea of success is. If you are building a business or something, you expect that you get a certain number of customers, you'll be making this net profits at the end of the year, at the end of the month. So, but for a project like this, the idea of success is not even clear. So there are a lot of uncertainties, but you're taking a bet. You're taking this risk because you have idea that you think can shape the future. Get me, right? Because I didn't even know what if this even became successful? What would success look like? Right? It wasn't even clear to me. It was just everything was just built on the premise that I had an idea. It could shape the future for so many people. And I was willing to see the end of it. I was willing to see it through to the very end. So yes, I had a lot of moments like that, but because I had told myself I was going to take the road less traveled, right? And when you take the road less traveled, you commit to it. And I took that road knowing fully well what the consequences could be, right? But then I did not give up on that journey. I saw it through till the very end. I just kept doing it.
All right. My advice to young people that are currently giving, their all to a project that is not business oriented but solves a social problem. Um, Now, the first thing you need to understand is even if you're building a solution or you're working on something that isn't exactly profitable but solves an important problem in society, you still need to run it as a business. Now, this is what I mean by you need to run it as a business. One important lesson that I've learned over the past, few years of doing this Chess and Slums project is that if you want to change the world, you need to figure out how to pay for it. And this is why, it's only people that are passionate enough, on the long run that can really delve into doing, a social project of this nature. Because, when you're not making profits, it could be very, very, frustrating, and you have all the solutions in your head, but you can't just fund them or you can't finance them in the way that you want to. So you must first understand that you need to have some level of business acumen, right? These problems you're solving, they are known as wicked problems, and we call them wicked problems because these are problems that the world has given up on solving. Imagine if you're trying to solve a problem like poverty or child education. You know, these are wicked problems, and most people don't give all their time and resources to solving problems like this because it's just an endless one. It's an endless struggle, right? And so the moment you decided to be brave and courageous enough to solve a problem like that, you have to also develop business acumen, right? To be able to get, the support that you need to solve that problem. It is very important. And a good example is Bill Gates. I mean, Bill Gates became a billionaire before he now decided to pivot into solving a social problem here in Africa. Right. So he used everything that he had, the relationship he had with Warren Buffett, leveraged everything. I mean, a billionaire that still had to go and be asking for money, right, from other billionaire friends to solve a social problem that wasn't going to bring any investment, right? But he was able to do that because he had already developed business acumen while working in the private sector. So it's important to find this balance, right? And also, I mean, know that you're doing it right for the right reasons, and let that just keep you going. And even if you don't have everything that you need, the little things that you have, make the best use of them and tell your story. Share your story with the world, right? Tell the story of what you're doing and share it in a way that it can resonate with a lot of people. When that happens, at first you're giving the dream, you're giving the vision, but ultimately people will support it, and you have to let them, you have to show them how to. So these are the things that actually helped me on my own journey, right? And I mean, with time, you grow into becoming better at handling these things and getting the help and resources that you need. Another important thing is to always leverage all the opportunities that exist in that ecosystem. There are a lot of opportunities, funding opportunities in the social space, humanitarian grants. You must seek them, you must find them, you must apply for them, and you must give yourself, the visibility that you need and position yourself properly. So these are ways, that you can just keep going, even if it isn't profitable at first. But your greatest reward would always be in the lives of the people that you're impacting, and you must never forget that. When most youth go through dark times, they revert to illegal means, fraud, sex work as a possible solution. What would you say influenced your response to life? So, I mean, of course, me too, I was pushed to that point. Maybe not sex work, because which sex work do you want to be doing as a man? Maybe fraud. Yeah, I can't lie that I was actually pushed to that point because I knew I was really smart. And a lot of the guys that we grew up together, they just got into internet fraud, and they were making money, they were buying cars, and I knew they weren't half as smart as I was. So I thought if I could put in the same efforts, I could even be better than them. But there was always that conviction I had that I could use my mind for something more productive. That if I thought I was as intelligent as I thought myself to be, then I could use it for something that would add value meaningful value to people and to the world. Right. So that was the first thing. I think I had a very strong conviction towards work, towards the things I wanted to do. So it was very hard for things like that to have swayed me, right? And I also understood the principles of delayed gratification. So, one thing that really influenced the way I responded to, life happening to you was, you know, reminding myself um, that the reason why I wanted to do this wasn't just because of success. My idea of success wasn't personal. It wasn't selfish. My idea of success was in the success of other people. So that was always a guiding light. I wanted other people to be successful because I built something. I wanted other people to find success because I did something. And that just, kept me grounded and made me focus, on the things that were truly important without having to worry about my own selfish, ambitions. So yeah, I think for most young people, I think the lesson here would be you know, to remember why they do the things they do, and to also act like the things they do actually matter. Like every single thing you do, every single decision you make for yourself matters in the grand scheme of things and would affect the lives of a lot of people that you may not even know or haven't met yet. So I guess yes. And another thing is, when your parents tell you that run to money to one share, not forgetting where you're from, also helped me remember that I had a responsibility to not just myself, but to my family and everyone that had high hopes for me. So I needed to stay focused, and I'm glad I did because, you know, it has brought me this far, and there's still so much to look forward to. So yeah, thank you.